Okay, here's the thing. Buckingham Palace, right? It's usually all stiff upper lip and perfectly orchestrated events, but lately there's been some serious drama brewing behind those gilded gates. We're talking about a potential royal crisis, and it all apparently started with a disagreement between King Charles and Queen Camilla. Now, the official line is that Camilla's taking some time off for medical reasons, which is fair enough. Royals need a break too, right? But the rumors swirling around are way juicier than that. Apparently, there was a massive row over the state visit of German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. Charles, being the new king, wanted this to be a huge success, a real statement of Britain's place on the world stage post-Brexit. Show everyone we're still a player, still have allies, all that jazz. State visits are a big deal. Months of planning, every detail scrutinized, from the seating arrangements to the flower arrangements. It's all about sending the right message. But here's where the alleged trouble started. Insiders are saying that Charles basically handed out all the important roles to William, Anne, and Kate. William got the opening toast, Anne was in charge of security, and Kate, bless her, got to handle the media. Camilla, she supposedly got stuck with decorating the welcome area and setting the tables. Now, on the surface, that sounds perfectly respectable, hostess duties, right? But apparently, Camilla saw it as a major snub. After years of being sidelined, of fighting for her place in the royal family, she felt like she was being relegated to a purely decorative role. And look, I can kind of see her point. She's the queen consort. She's been through hell and back with Charles. She's not just some trophy wife to be trotted out for photo ops. She's earned her place, or at least that's how she sees it. So the story goes that this simmering resentment boiled over in the days leading up to the state visit. And this is where things get seriously dramatic. There's this unconfirmed tale, totally unsubstantiated but still juicy as hell, about a massive argument at Windsor Castle. Apparently, Camilla saw the final program for the state banquet, the one with Charles's signature on it, and her name wasn't even mentioned. That was the last straw. The story goes that she stormed into Charles's study and, get this, threw the signed program into the fireplace. Boom. Symbolically rejecting his authority, the whole institution, everything. Now, if that's true, that's pretty explosive. I mean, burning a state document signed by the king? That's not just a marital spat, that's a constitutional crisis waiting to happen. It's a huge sign of disrespect, a total rejection of the established order. And according to the leaks, Charles was furious. The plans for this crucial diplomatic event were in tatters, and the trust between him and Camilla was shattered. The palace went into damage control mode, trying to contain the fallout. They issued a brief statement about Camilla needing rest, but everyone knew something was up. The silence was deafening, and that's when the real power play allegedly began. Camilla, feeling slighted and disrespected, supposedly launched a silent coup within Windsor Castle. This is where it gets really interesting. Okay, let's keep this going. So, after the alleged program burning incident and Charles's supposed fury, things got even messier. The story goes that Camilla, feeling completely undermined, decided to take matters into her own hands. She wasn't just going to sit back and be sidelined. Instead, she allegedly orchestrated a silent coup within Windsor Castle. Now, this is all unconfirmed, remember, but the rumors are swirling and they paint a pretty dramatic picture. Apparently, Camilla moved swiftly and decisively to consolidate her power within the royal household. The first step? Purging the staff. Sources claim that long-serving members of the household, people who'd been there for decades, were unceremoniously dismissed. These weren't just random servants. These were people with institutional knowledge, loyalties to Charles, and a deep understanding of how things worked. They were quietly escorted out of the castle, replaced by Camilla's own handpicked team, people whose loyalty was solely to her. Think about the implications of that. Replacing experienced staff with newcomers loyal to one person completely disrupts the established order. It creates factions, breeds resentment, and throws the entire household into turmoil. It's like a corporate takeover, but with tiaras and corgis. And it didn't stop there. The story goes that Camilla also began rearranging the physical space of Windsor Castle to reflect her newfound power. Portraits of Charles were moved to less prominent positions, while a huge coronation portrait of Camilla was hung in a central hall. Carpets were replaced, furniture was rearranged, and even the exhibits in the private and semi-public areas were reorganized. Now, some might say that's just interior decorating, but in the world of the royals, everything is symbolic. Portraits aren't just portraits, they're statements of power and legitimacy. The placement of furniture isn't just about aesthetics, it's about asserting dominance. And the choice of artwork isn't just about taste, it's about shaping the narrative. One particularly sensitive area was the tribute to Princess Diana. Remember, Diana's legacy still casts a long shadow over the royal family, and feelings are still raw even after all these years. The story goes that Camilla ordered the removal of all Diana-related items, replacing them with things that celebrated her own achievements. According to one particularly juicy quote, Camilla allegedly told a hesitant aide, "The palace can't keep worshipping ghosts." If true, that's a pretty blunt statement of intent. It's a clear message that Camilla is determined to move on from the past and establish her own legacy, but it also risks alienating a significant portion of the public who still revere Diana. So Charles, according to the leaks, was shocked by the speed and scale of these changes. He felt like his own home was being taken over, his staff was being replaced, and his own history was being erased. The palace was now divided, with one faction loyal to the king and another fiercely devoted to the queen. Things were spiraling out of control. And that's when Charles allegedly turned to his son, Prince William, for help. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. So Charles is supposedly reeling from Camilla's alleged power grab, the palace is in chaos, and the whole situation is threatening to explode. According to the leaks, Charles did what any father would do in that situation. He called his son Prince William. Now, William's role as the Prince of Wales isn't just ceremonial. He's the heir to the throne, the future of the monarchy, and he has a vested interest in preserving the institution's stability. Apparently, Charles summoned William to Windsor, explained the situation, and begged him to intervene. He needed William to calm things down, restore order, and prevent the whole thing from spiraling into a full-blown crisis. William, ever the dutiful son, immediately drove to Windsor. No fanfare, no press, just a quiet arrival to assess the damage. And what he found reportedly confirmed the worst. The new staff, the rearranged furniture, the replaced portraits, it was all exactly as Charles had described. William, supposedly furious at what he saw as Camilla's overreach, immediately asked to speak to her. The meeting, according to sources, was tense. William, usually so diplomatic, was reportedly direct and confrontational. Camilla, for her part, apparently greeted him with a cool detachment, even asking if Charles was too weak to fight his own battles. That comment, if true, reveals the depth of the animosity between Camilla and Charles and her resentment towards what she perceived as his weakness. But William wasn't having it. He reportedly laid the revised banquet plan, the one Charles had rejected, on the table and told her, "I'm here to end this." He then allegedly delivered a cutting blow, saying, "The palace is no longer your stage." Ouch. That's a clear message that Camilla's personal ambitions were threatening the stability of the monarchy and that William was there to put a stop to it. He reportedly reminded her that the internal conflict had already leaked to the press, meaning that Charles's informal protection, which had shielded her in the past, was no longer guaranteed. He then allegedly issued an ultimatum. If you want to keep your dignity, disappear before it's taken from you. That's a pretty stark warning, turning a private marital spat into a public threat to the crown's image and continuity. It was a turning point. William, the future king, had stepped in to defend the institution, even if it meant confronting his own stepmother. And that, according to the leaks, is what paved the way for Charles's next move. Following William's intervention, Charles reportedly took decisive action. He secretly issued a legal order suspending Camilla's state rights and duties, effectively barring her from official events. This was a drastic step, but according to insiders, it was necessary to restore order and control the narrative. The palace then released a statement about Camilla needing rest and medical advice, a convenient explanation that allowed them to manage the situation publicly. But behind the scenes, things were very different. The medical leave was a face-saving way to sideline Camilla and diffuse the tension. And then the final act, Camilla's departure. So, yeah, the story goes that on the very day of that announcement, a quiet little convoy slipped out of Windsor through a side gate. And guess who was in it? Rumor has it, Queen Camilla. Now, this isn't like she was being dragged off to the Tower of London or anything. The word is she was headed to a secluded Catholic monastery way up in Yorkshire. I know, right? Sounds like something out of a movie. Apparently, this monastery is run by some order of nuns, and it's super basic. We're talking a single bed, a chair, a window overlooking a garden. Compared to Buckingham Palace, it's practically a prison cell. But the idea wasn't punishment, more like a timeout. A place for Camilla to cool off, away from the spotlight, away from the drama. The palace spin, of course, was all about needing rest and medical advice. But let's be real, this was about damage control. Get Camilla out of the picture, let things simmer down, and then figure out what to do next. And for the most part, it worked. The media bought the story, at least initially. Some even praised Charles for being so reasonable. You know, putting the monarchy first, all that jazz. But the thing is, even if the public face of the scandal faded, the people inside the palace, they knew what had really gone down. And the whole thing exposed some serious cracks in the foundation of the monarchy. I mean, you've got this image of a united family all working together for the good of the country, but underneath you've got power struggles, personal resentments, and a whole lot of drama. And Camilla? She's the one who ended up paying the price. After all those years of trying to win over the public, of carving out her own role, she's back to being sidelined. It's like she finally got to the top of the mountain and then someone just kicked her off. Now, what does all this mean for the future? Well, it's complicated. Royal households are always tricky. You've got the personal relationships, the ceremonial duties, the practical needs, all mixed together. And any little change, who gets what job, who talks to whom, who gets fired, can have huge consequences. And when you're dealing with an institution that relies on symbolism, every detail matters. The seating arrangements, the portraits on the wall, the order of the program, it all sends a message. And if that message is messed up, it can undermine the whole thing. Plus, you've got the whole constitutional angle. Even if this was just a private squabble, a fight between the king and queen consort raises some serious questions. In a constitutional monarchy, public trust is everything. And if the public starts to think that the royals are more interested in their own drama than in serving the country, that trust can evaporate pretty quickly. And then there's the media. Back in the day, the palace could control the narrative pretty easily. But now, with social media and 24-hour news cycles, it's a whole different ballgame. Anonymous sources can leak stories to multiple outlets in a matter of hours, and the palace is left scrambling to respond. It's a constant battle for control of the message. So where does that leave us? Well, Camilla's got some serious reputation repair to do. She needs to figure out how to come back from this, how to regain the public's trust, and how to carve out a meaningful role for herself. Charles needs to show that he can keep things under control, that he can manage the internal conflicts without letting them spill out into the public. And William needs to keep playing peacemaker, protecting the institution and ensuring a smooth transition for the future. Ultimately, this whole episode is a reminder that even the most powerful institutions are vulnerable. Personal conflicts, power struggles, and media scrutiny can all take their toll. And the way the monarchy handles these challenges will determine its future. Will they be able to adapt and evolve, or will they be dragged down by their own internal drama? Only time will tell. Okay, so what's the fallout from all this? Because there's gotta be some. I mean, you can't just banish a queen consort to a nunnery and expect everything to go back to normal, right? Even if the palace is trying to project that image. First off, Camilla. She's got to be plotting her comeback, right? She's not just going to sit in Yorkshire knitting rosaries. This is a woman who fought tooth and nail to get where she is, and she's not going to give it up without a fight. The question is, what does that fight look like? Does she try to win back public opinion? Does she try to exert her influence behind the scenes? Or does she just fade away gracefully and become the forgotten queen? My money's on option 1 or 2. She's too savvy to just disappear. And what about Charles? He's got to prove he's in charge, that he can handle the pressure. He can't look weak or indecisive. This whole thing makes him look like he can't even manage his own household, let alone a country. He's got to project strength and stability, even if it's all a facade. He's got to show the world that he's a king, not just a figurehead. It's a tough spot to be in, especially when you're dealing with family drama. Then there's William. He played the hero in this scenario, but it's a dangerous game. Stepping in between his father and stepmother, potentially alienating one or both of them. That's a risk. He's got to walk a tightrope between loyalty to his father and maintaining a working relationship with Camilla. And he's got to do it all while preparing to be king himself. No pressure, right? Beyond the individuals, this whole thing raises some serious questions about the monarchy itself. Is it still relevant in the 21st century? Can it adapt to changing times? Or is it just a relic of the past, destined to crumble under its own weight? These are the questions people are asking, even if they're not saying it out loud. The monarchy needs to modernize to become more transparent and accountable. They can't just hide behind tradition and ceremony anymore. People want to see real leadership, real connection. They want to know that the royals are actually doing something to earn their keep. And if the monarchy can't deliver that, then it's going to have a hard time surviving. Look, the monarchy's always been about image. It's about projecting power, stability, and continuity. But when the reality behind the image is so messy and dysfunctional, it's hard to maintain that illusion. And in the age of social media and instant information, it's harder than ever to control the narrative. So what's next? Will Camilla return to public life? Will Charles be able to restore order to the palace? Will William be able to navigate the treacherous waters of royal politics? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this whole episode has shaken the monarchy to its core.